And in electrostatics, today we will discuss about that how to charge a body. Basically, in the start of the chapter, we discussed that in electrostatics, we are going to talk about the rest charges, right? It means there will be no forceful motion of the body, or there will be no concept of the flow of the charges or any quantity related to the flow of the charges in this chapter, right? And normally we all know about conductors and insulators, right? So first, if you compare the difference between conductor and insulators, so conductors are those materials, so those materials which conduct heat and electricity are called conductors, right? And for example, if we take very common example like the copper and silver. So in our daily life, we are using different types of wires, and these wires are mostly made up of copper and silvers. So basically, this is the basic idea of the conductor. And if we compare with insulators, right? So what happens in insulator and what is the difference between conductor and insulator? So the concept in the conductor is that there are free electrons. If you remember, we also discussed in the thermal physics section that when we use metal, so there are free electrons, right? So basically these electrons helps the conductor to conduct heat or to conduct electricity. So electrons are free to move in the conductor, and let's suppose our main concern is related to insulator, because in this chapter we are going to talk about all insulators. So basically in insulators what happens, that these materials are not able to conduct heat and electricity. So these materials are not able to conduct heat and electricity. For example, if we talk about the glass and plastic, so these are the insulators, right? So what do you think, what is the problem in insulators, that these materials are not able to conduct heat and electricity? Because in nuclear physics we discuss that in each atom or in each element, let's suppose, so there are equal number of protons and equal number of electrons, right? So definitely glass will also have equal number of proton and equal number of electron, because this is the structure of an atom. So if we consider any atom in the material, so definitely there will be equal number of proton and equal number of electron in each material, right? So now, what is the problem with insulator, that these materials are not able to conduct heat and electricity just like the conductors? Any idea, any
Uh,
reason?
they don't have free moving electrons,
Yes,
insulators.
this is the problem in insulators, that electrons are not able to move freely, but they are like they can easily vibrate about their fixed position, just like the solids, right? In solids atoms are able to vibrate about their fixed position. So same happens with the electrons in insulators, that electrons are only able to, or we can say electrons can only vibrate about their fixed position. So this is the problem with insulators, right? So now difference is clear, and the main concept is related to charging an insulator, that how to charge an insulator, because conductors can be easily charged, right? You just pass electricity, it will be charged. So when we are talking about the static charge or the rest charge, so in the static charges we use the concept of insulators because they are not able to conduct freely the charges just like the conductor. So that's why we consider all the insulators in static chapter. And what is the meaning of charging an insulator? So the word charging means when a body achieves charge to the imbalance of number of protons and electrons. So concept is very simple. We know in normal state number of protons are equal to number of electrons. But if there are not equal number of protons and electrons, so definitely body will consist one charge, like a greater number of protons or less number of protons, or if you compare with the electrons, so might be there will be greater number of electron or less number of electrons, right? And one more
Okay.
important thing, we discussed also in the nuclear physics that protons are in the nucleus. So protons are not able to move because they are in the nucleus. So which element is able to move freely?
Electrons.
Electrons. So there is no boundary for electrons, like there is no bonding of electron with some other thing. So in this concept, always remember that we take the reference from the electron, not from the proton. For example, if a body loses electron, so when body loses electrons, so what happens? There will be deficiency of electrons, right?
Yes.
So in this case, you will get less negative charge and more positive charge on a body. So in this case, body will be positively charged, right?
Okay.
And apply the reverse concept. If a body gains more electron, so it means number of electrons will be greater than the number of protons. So it means body will get negatively charged, right? Any confusion?
No.
And always remember, just to remind you, one important point that you always have to remember, that a body can only gain or lose electrons, right? Not protons. And always remember, protons cannot be added or removed while charging a body. So this is the main idea to charge a body or to charge an insulator. So let's suppose the procedure for charging an insulator will be like this. If we consider one example, so the method we are going to use is charging with the help of friction. So the concept which is included in your syllabus is charging with friction. So when we are going to charge with the help of the friction, so what we have to do, we have to consider, let's suppose a rod, and let's suppose that rod is made up of plastic. Plastic is insulator. And if we take a woolen cloth, so that is also insulator, right? We have two insulators, and when we rub this cloth on the plastic rod, so what happens, that both bodies will get single charge on it. Like rod will get negative charge and the cloth will get positive charge.
So both gained the electrons.
Basically, the plastic rod gains electron. That's why more number of electrons in it. So rod gains electron and this cloth loses the electron. That's why it is positively charged. Positively charged means deficiency of electron and negatively charged means excess of electron. Simple.
Oh, okay.
And for the procedure, because in exam they also ask to explain the concept, so you can explain the concept like this. Due to friction, we know that due to friction heat is produced, and this heat is absorbed by the electron. So this heat is absorbed by electrons because electrons can easily move, so that's why they gain that heat. And then how we know that which from which body the electrons will start to move, so the logic is very simple. The body which has its electrons weakly bonded, so they will lose them, right? Just like in cloth, you know that the electrons are loosely bounded, so they can easily lose their electron. And the second body which is in contact with that body, that gains electron. So the
Yes.
body in contact gains them. And one more important concept in this transfer of the charges, you can see I marked 4 electrons on the plastic rod and 4 protons on the woolen cloth, right? So it means the transfer of charges will also take place with equal numbers, right? There will be no change in the numbers. The transfer will also take place equally. So we can say the electrons lost by one body will be equal to the electrons gained by the other body. Right? So this is the concept. And one more thing, that insulators gain charges at the surface. So these are some important points during the transfer process which take place between any two bodies. So charges are given in the diagram. So you may just take the reference from it. And the basic concepts about the charges like transfer of charges, equal number of charges, and the concept of the electrons, that only electron can transfer charge or electrons can be added or removed from the body. So these important concepts are going to be assessed in your exam. So basically, always try to answer with respect to the electron. If you refer proton in your answer, that there must be a transfer of protons, so you will not get any marks for that because there is only a concept of free electrons, right?
Okay.
And in your example, if you consider the woolen cloth, so woolen cloth loses electron and it becomes positively charged. Second, if we talk about the plastic rod, so plastic rod gains electrons and that rod becomes negatively charged. And one more important thing related to this process, you will also get idea from the diagram that both get opposite charge. So definitely unlike charges attract each other. So we will write as both bodies achieve equal and opposite charge, they attract because unlike charges attract each other. So this is also a very simple idea about the transfer of the charges, right?
Yes.
And further, if we talk about some concepts like the questions related to it, so let's see the questions related to these charging properties. So question number one. So the diagram shows an uncharged ball. So initially ball is uncharged, coated with a metallic paint. The ball is suspended from an insulating thread. It is placed near a positively charged rod, as you can see in the diagram. So which diagram shows the correct charge distribution on the ball?
D.
Option D, right. So negative charges will shift towards the right hand side because there is positive charge. They will attract towards the positive. So negative will be on right hand side and positive will be on left hand side. Right. Question number two.
D.
So which statement describes the transfer of charge? You just need to describe the statement. So positive charge are transferred. Again, this is the mistake in our question that we take the reference from positive charge, right? So positive charge will never transfer. So never take the reference from
Oh,
positive charge.
it's A.
Yes. So negative charges are transferred from cloth to the polythene because cloth is positively charged. So it means
Yes.
the cloth loses
It lost the
electrons.
electrons.
Yes. And the polythene will,
Be negatively charged.
yes. Right. So this is the concept. And what about number, yes, question number three.
D.
Option D, X is negatively charged and Y is positively charged. So basically, in question we have positively charged rod as we can see, and it is close to isolated uncharged conducting sphere. It is completely isolated from the ground. So what are the charges on side X and Y? So definitely negative charge will shift towards the left hand side and positive will towards right hand side. So it will be equals to, yes, Y is positive, X is negative. D. Question number four.
A.
So the charge caused is a result of friction producing a movement of electrons, right? Because it is due to the friction and only electrons will able to move. So that's why there will be movement in the electrons. Question number 6. Which row shows the conductor and insulator?
B.
Electrical conductor is iron and insulator is rubber, right? This is not conductor, this is not conductor, and this is not insulator. This is also not insulator. Question number 10.
A.
So you have to list which only contains electrical insulators. So glass, plastic, rubber, all these are electrical insulators. Okay. So if we continue with a detailed question also, so in this you will also have to consider the same idea. In the figure we have a negatively charged rod close to an uncharged metal sphere that is mounted on an insulating stand. So first of all, suggest a material for the insulating stand. So what
Plastic.
material? Okay, plastic, right? So on figure 4.1, draw the distribution on the charges of a sphere. So what will be the distribution of the charges? Right. So positive on one side and negative on the other side. Okay, so the process earthing is not included in our syllabus. So we will skip this part of earthing, right? Because previously it was included, but now it is removed from the syllabus. You don't need to solve the concept of the earthing process.
Okay.
So mostly you will find many questions related to the earthing because previously it was a detailed topic. And if you consider the question 6, when a balloon is rubbed on here, the balloon becomes negative charge and the balloon is shown in the figure. Explain how rubbing causes the balloon to become negatively charged.
Due to friction, the electrons in the hair
Hmm.
are transferred to the balloon.
Yes. So due to friction, heat is transferred to the electrons and electrons will move from here will transfer to the balloon, and it becomes negatively charged. Why the hair is pulled to the balloon?
Because the hair is now positively charged and the balloon is negatively charged.
Yeah,
So it's like pulling it towards it, the balloon is.
right. So hair is positively charged and balloon is negatively charged. So they will attract each other. Unlike charges, attract each other. So in this way, we can easily solve questions related to the basic knowledge of the charges. And all the questions are like mostly the same related to the idea of the transfer of charges in insulators, right?